I'm standing outside King's Cross train station here in the heart of London. It's a busy morning, and as I'm sure you can hear, there is a lot of traffic about. I can see a fair few taxicabs too, and no doubt many of the people who've ordered them have done so via an app on their phone. Now, waiting for a taxi to pick us up is a minor inconvenience. But how do the dispatch systems calculate how many vehicles are needed at any given time? And how do taxi company owners juggle the demand for rides with the cost of keeping countless cars and drivers on the road? Their daily challenge is to make sure there are enough vehicles in their fleet to serve all their customers without delay, but not to have so many that they're losing profits. And, of course, an excess of vehicles also creates traffic and pollution problems. It's a mathematical conundrum known as the minimum fleet problem, and it's something that Moe Vazifeh from the Senseable City Lab at MIT has been trying to solve. His team have developed a new solution to this urban traffic puzzle, a computer algorithm they've been testing in New York, which they say could make taxi networks much more efficient. So, Mo, when you're looking at a city like New York, for example, why is this minimum fleet problem so difficult to solve?
So when you look at New York City, there are around 300,000 to 400,000 taxi trips a day, served by around 13,000 cabs on the road. Traditional optimization approaches are not designed to be able to handle such a huge number. You can only solve this problem for a few thousand trips, considering the frameworks that have been designed in the literature so far. So if you want to solve this problem in real-world scenarios, we had to rethink the problem and design it in a way that it is scalable and accurate.
So your solution is different because it's designed to handle these huge numbers of trips, and you call it a network-based solution. What does that mean?
So we have reformulated the problem in a way that the problem becomes a network science problem. So basically we have a fleet of vehicles that are being shared by all these trips, but all the trips remain independent. And the way we construct this network is each node is a trip, and the links between the nodes represent whether trips could be shared by the same vehicle. So if you consider a pair of nodes and there is a link from node A to node B, it means that a vehicle can serve first the trip A and then go on serve trip B.
So the computer algorithm then finds the best pathway through that network?
Yeah, so it's decisions that we make for each individual car is affected by the whole system. So the problem of finding the minimum fleet size becomes finding efficient set of paths, chains on this network that connect all these dots, all these nodes, and they cover all this network.
And so in your paper, you discuss some of the complexities that you include, the ride duration, the trip frequencies, the locations, and the distances. How long does it take for the computer to run these simulations, and how does it respond to the fact that you've got new requests coming through all the time?
So we have two scenarios. We have offline and online optimizations. So for the offline, we have the knowledge of trips 1 day in advance. So this could be used, for example, for a delivery service. But in the online case, which is more relevant to on-demand mobility services, you have to assign vehicles to rides where you only have trip information in the next minute or so. And we show that in this paper on a very simple desktop computer, you can solve this in a very short time, on the order of half a second.
And so to test this algorithm, you've applied it to a year's worth of data from New York City. So this is 150 million previous taxi trips, which is about 300,000 to 400,000 a day. And you've looked at both offline and online systems. So that's trips you know in advance as well as live bookings. What did the algorithm show?
In the offline model, we show that consistently throughout the year, you are able to provide the same level of service, reducing the number of cabs by 40% compared to what we have on the road today. And in the online model, we still have 30% reduction in the number of cabs while maintaining the level of service. And the level of service means that the percentage of people served within a certain delay remains the same as the original.
So essentially, according to your algorithm, New York City could function fully with several thousand fewer taxis on the road?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so these reductions of 30 and 40% are pretty big numbers. But you discuss in the paper some of the factors that may limit us from achieving this maximum efficiency. What about driver behaviour? What if someone decides to collect the closest person to them or take their preferred route rather than what the algorithm tells them?
So we are limited by the behavior that we are observing in this historical data. But this is still, I would say, would be applicable. 1 year is long enough to capture most of the cases, but there still might be actually fundamental problems. I'll give you an example. So if you have a sport match and after the match, suddenly you have huge number of diverging requests, then you have to add more vehicles to the system to be able to serve these trips.
And also this system is assuming one central dispatcher for a single large fleet. So doesn't that encourage a monopoly in the market?
Not necessarily. This could be an agreement between companies for efficiency. As we have showed in the paper, even if you have few players, you still get most of the efficiency that we expect. So we have considered 2 and 3 in the paper, and it shows that you only have 6-7% reduction in the efficiency.
Okay, so you're still looking at 20-25% fewer vehicles required than currently, even with several competitors all sharing that information.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's great for taxi companies and could help traffic problems in big cities. But thinking ahead, you also think this algorithm could be especially relevant for maintaining sustainable cities in the future.
Sure. So we have a self-driving revolution ahead of us, and I think this work becomes even more relevant in that scenario. You're directly translating these algorithms' suggested decision into a fleet of autonomous vehicles serving these trips while keeping the footprint in the city as low as possible.
That was Moe Vazifeh from the Senseable City Lab at MIT speaking to reporter Ellie Mackay. You can read the full paper over at nature.com/nature.